We are fucking live. Let's go. All right, guys, girls, welcome so much to this channel that I don't even know how to call it yet. And to this episode that I don't know how I'm going to call it or what I'm going to speak on. But actually, before we get into that, let's just quickly drop into this present moment and really arrive here, right? And be present. So I'm inviting you to just take 3 deep breaths in through your nose, into your belly, and then exhaling out through the mouth. And then 2 more. Last one, you can close your eyes here. Deep into the belly, up into the chest. Hold it for a sec, feel the expansion. And exhaling out. Fully arriving here. So, when I was just sitting down earlier and thinking, yeah, what is something that I can create? What is something that maybe wants to emerge through me, or is something of value that I can get or give, right? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I have a couple of format ideas that I can create and touch on. One is like Conscious Entrepreneur's Diary, in which I'm sharing about my journey as a conscious entrepreneur, the ins and outs, the inner journey, the outer creations, as well as some business strategies and insights and revelations and all that stuff that's going on. Another thing is raw transmissions. So essentially, like the last podcast episode I did regarding aligned content creation, it's simply a voice note that I channeled or transmitted or recorded in the moment. Then I'm also really thinking of creating a podcast in which I'm having, present discussions with people regarding their conscious visions for themselves and humanity, society. So that's exciting, as well as some more educational research type videos with Loom, for example, or little presentation. And today, I feel it's going to be more of a raw transmission type video. Me wanting to sit down here and talk to you. And when I was thinking of what to talk about, or also the way in which to talk about, this belief came up that in order to create something, I have to fully know what it is. It has to be super optimized and structured, and has to be with a great hook and all that stuff to really get people in, right? Which would then assume that the underlying intention of me creating content is to get something from the viewer, right? So almost the more there's 2 ways you can argue about that, right? If the intention was to hook you as the viewer, right, as the audience, as strongly as possible, then I would, in a sense, lean to have Mr. Beast type videos, right? These are made for hooking attention, and it's incredible how well he does that. I mean, sometimes I am just like clicking onto one of his videos to see how he just to learn something, to see how he's hooking people, how he does that, and then in a sense, the entire video almost feels like a hook, right? It almost feels like there's like a initial hook. It always feels like there's something more, there's something else around the corner that's waiting, and I just have to stick by a bit longer to actually see it. So in a sense, there's never a real payoff. It's just never-ending tension that's being created, never-ending curiosity loop or gap that's being opened, and that's then progressing through the video. So that's done geniusly. But then I'm wondering, what are the impacts, right? I mean, the only impact, For the viewer, the impact is not much. It's essentially entertainment, right? Dopamine stimulation. Then for the people that are participating in these videos, the benefit is, I don't know, fun or making $1 million, winning something. Then of course, yes, there's these more, what is it? Yeah, these more sort of helpful, beneficial, right? I think is forgetting the name of this term, but when you help people selfishly, something with P. Yeah, philanthropically. So yeah, he also has this channel, right, where he, for example, helps 1,000 people see again, something like that, which of course and obviously has a strong benefit. So then I'm wondering, yes, is it also okay to not have over edited videos, right, such as this one, and just have more raw, authentic, real energy transmissions, or me sharing myself with you? Does it also work? Is it also value producing? And my idea, my understanding, my perspective on value is not how necessarily how pleasureful it is, right? How hyped you feel, how excited you feel, how yeah, how high the high is, right? So let's say Mr. Beast, you're always so stimulated, like it's insane. But then is this real value? Just because you feel great or insane or super glued to your phone, this doesn't mean it's actually value, right? And I would argue, like, and obviously this is the case, value is hyper subjective, right? It only depends on what you want. To me, watching a Mr. Beast video is actually not valuable because I'm wasting my time, because it's not in alignment with where I'm trying to go, right? Um, for me, it's better to close my eyes, to sit in meditation for 10 minutes, or to literally stare at a blank wall for 10 minutes instead of watching a 10-minute Mr. Beast video. This is more valuable to me. So value is highly subjective. It totally depends what is your intention, right? Where would you like to go? So now circling back to me creating this video, yes, it might not bring the most value to everybody in the world, right? But this is also not what I'm trying to do here. I feel like Mr. Beast's intention, if the intention is to gain as much views as possible, right, and as many subscribers as possible, then you would need to speak to the masses, to the average person, right? Because if you're speaking to this sort of audience avatar, that's the most common, right? Which is essentially people who just care about superficial stimulation. Then yes, then perfect. Then the way to catch all of them would be to give them exactly that, what they're craving, right? This superficial stimulation, which is what Mr. Beast is, or at least his videos, right? Not the philanthropic ones, but I mean, yeah. So you get what I mean. But there's a difference, right, between stimulating people, giving them a little injection of dopamine, a dopamine hit, or actually giving them value. And I'm trying to do the latter here, the second. So there's a difference between you could say going high, right? Going high or going deep, or going broad and going deep, right? So let's say you can even, I mean, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. So let's say if you just take if we to stay on this theme here, this topic, this narrative of, let's say, Mr. Beast, hyper dopamine attention retaining videos, right, versus slow paced, intuitive, authentic transmission type videos. Which aspect in ourselves do they serve, right? Whom or for which aspect in ourselves is the value for, right? Because we always act in a way that's valuable for us, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't do the action, right? Even the part of us that's watching Mr. Beast video, or let's say Netflix, something like that, a tiny part still believes is valuable, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. So then the question is, okay, yeah, what kind of part is that, right? And then what kind of part in us feels is valuable to rather sit in meditation and to do yoga or to stare at a blank wall and do nothing, right? Instead of watching the Mr. Beast video, for example. And my answer to that is, if we look at ourselves as this duality, right, this polarity between heart and ego, right, or soul and ego, right, higher self, lower self. It's valuable for the lower self, for the ego that wants pleasure and instant stimulation to watch a Mr. Beast video, because that's all it cares about, right? Therefore, Mr. Beast videos are highly valuable because they give the ego part of ourselves instant stimulation. But on the other hand, if we wanted to further drop into our, let's say, higher self, right, and focus more on the soul and the heart, then the Mr. Beast video would actually be harmful, right, because it's not serving their purpose, and it's actually not like it's the opposite of valuable. It's harmful, right? It's pulling us further away, pushing us further away from where we like to go. But then sitting down and doing something that's alignment with where we would like to go, right, with our higher self values, that is then valuable, right? So it depends on which aspect in ourselves are we feeling, right? Are we feeling the lower self? Are we feeling the higher self? Are we valuing instant stimulation, right? Because we feel like we're lacking something and we need something right now, or are we valuing long-term sustainable delayed gratification, right? And focusing more on presence and stillness rather than noise and stimulation and these kinds of things. So both things are valuable, right? They're just valuable to different parts of us. Valuable instant stimulation is valuable to the ego, right? To the lower self that just craves that. And then what's valuable to the higher self that craves presence and stillness and peace is doing activities that actually lead to that. So you know that's right. What works for you: meditation, yoga, nature, and all that stuff. So the reason why I also started this video maybe a bit more silent, right? Just or conscious, right? With the intention of actually dropping in, because I know that, or I'm not speaking to this person here that's usually consuming Mr. Beast right, and that is expecting like a Mr. Beast type video from me, right? I'm not here to fucking scream at you and over edit the shit about this video, right? Because that's not the intention. The intention is to drop into the present moment, right? And arrive more at yourself, right? Reconnect with yourself more and help you self-actualize, self-realize, right? Gain inner clarity, gain confidence, gain or help you create the life you want, right? And not necessarily take you away from that. And what's needed there is presence and intentionality and integrity, right? So it's in a sense you could almost say it's also the difference between learning versus unlearning, right? Many times it's not necessarily that we need to learn many more things in order to, let's say, put ourselves in a certain way, right? Or express ourselves in a certain way. It's more that we need to unlearn all the habits, behaviors, thinking patterns, beliefs that are keeping us stuck, right? And this also goes hand in hand with sort of this notion of less is more. And especially in this fast-paced world, right, when it comes to social media and content creation, there's so many content pieces, right, that are just screaming at you, like literally and metaphorically, trying to get something from you, right, instead of actually nurturing you. So even there, you can see once again that, yeah, a lot of the things we're seeing outside, whether that's media, social media, whether it's entertainment, education, I mean, not education, entertainment definitely, whether it's business, whether it's fashion, food, all that stuff. It's mainly catered to your lower self, right? It's trying to extract something from you, right? It's trying to extract um, or sort of, yeah, lean on or leverage your compulsion, right? Your impulsivity to then get you to either consume, yeah, to get you to consume something, rather than something stimulating, right? Let's say social media or Netflix or whatever, an ice cream or a burger, something like that, or I don't know, the latest fashion purchase, right? It's speaking to the lower part in you that feels it needs to have something to then be a certain way, right? And this is actually also where I feel like the gap between conscious and unconscious entrepreneurship comes in, right? It's, you can say yes, entrepreneurship is just capitalism. You just buy, you just offer and sell whatever the market demands and desires. Yeah, of course, but you know, and then but then you can't really say you have the best interest from people in your heart, right, or at heart. Because it's one thing to just because they say they want something doesn't mean it's the best for them, right? If someone says in a moment of, let's say, weakness, that they just crave something sugary right now because they're in a bad mood, then in that moment they might say, yes, I just crave some chocolate right now. But does this actually mean this is the most valuable thing for them? No, like just because they say that, just because the lower part in them says that, it doesn't mean it's actually valuable for their evolution, right, towards the higher self. Because the higher self wouldn't say, "Oh my God, yes, please give me some chocolate right now, otherwise I'm going to freak out here." So the higher self would be probably saying something like, "Okay, just take a moment here, just drop in, maybe close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and try to gain awareness and clarity and an understanding of what's actually happening inside your body right now, where this is craving coming from, where is this need to now stuff yourself coming from. Can you detach from it? Can you observe it? Can you just be with it, right? That's sort of the higher self approach to this lower emotion, right? This craving that people might be feeling, right? Or that I'm feeling myself at times too, yesterday, for example. Um, so there's a higher and a lower consciousness way of dealing with what people actually want. And if we hold ourselves accountable to the standard that we want the best, right? The best with a capital B for ourselves and people, we first have to actually become aware of and know what the best actually is, right? Because the best isn't just whatever people think or say it is, right? Few people actually know what the best for someone is. And it's not some new clothing piece or a dinner outside or signature cocktails or I don't know, like a movie or video games and all that stuff, right? This is not like yeah, it's all just noise. Like it's actually taking you further away from this still, this peaceful calm inner core inside of ourselves, right? And if all we want, okay, this is actually also interesting, right? Because okay, yeah, what is the best, right? Best is always in relation, right? The best thing I can do to get me to A or B, right? The best thing to make me obese is a different answer to the best thing to make me healthy and fit. So what is the best? And that's a beautiful question. I feel that it's essentially self-actualization, right? Awakening, enlightenment, infinite love, God realization, right? This is the ultimate thing that is possible, that is sort of possible, quote unquote, in this human life. Even that is infinite, right, and endless. So there's not the best, right? I mean the best, right, meaning singular. There's only if we talk about the best, right, then that, and yes, it's singular, there's only one thing, and that's God, right? There's nothing else. So that's the best thing, right? The singular, only one best thing. And if you say, let's say, if we say that this is the top of the pyramid, top of the chart, top of the mountain, there's a lot of, or there's many other things also that go into this direction, right? Of leading towards the best, and that might be, yeah, many different other states of awakening or levels of consciousness that go that way, right? But overall, we can say the best thing for us is to realize our true nature, right? Truth, right? Infinite love. Like essentially, what do we want, right? What do you want? What do you really want, right? It's not food, ice cream, burgers, pizza, drinks, sex, money, status, fame. Like that's cool, right? But in a sense, you want the feeling that comes with that, right? If being famous and having sex would feel like shit, then you wouldn't want it. So you obviously want the feeling. And then what's the highest, most potent feeling that's out there that we can have and live, right? It's just utter peacefulness, gratitude, reverence, transcendence, love, union, like these kinds of things, right? These are these types of emotions that are possible and the things that we actually want. So I'm convinced actually that we all want that. We're just looking at it in the wrong places, right? And there's this beautiful quote, one of my favorite ones by Actualized at All. Your guru, you'll never be satisfied with anything less than infinite love because that's all you are. Right? How does it land for you? Do you feel that's true? Do you feel that makes sense? Because you totally did for me. Like, what else would you stand and be, right? Like, what else would you want? Wouldn't you want the ultimate? Why not, right? And yes, then that, depending on your sort of inner state, how you're perceiving yourself and the world and all that stuff, you might have certain apprehensions or doubts or beliefs or just overall feelings of restriction in your body, maybe, right? Like this is not possible. Who am I to believe so boldly, to dream so big? There's no sense in that and all that, whatever it might be for you. But deep down, like it's what we all want, right? And trying to do all the lower things are attempts to have the higher, right? To have this infinite love, let's say. But then, so we're exhausting that, right? We're fully exhausting partying and fucking around, like one night stands, or drinking and eating until we've exhausted that area so much that we can't stand it anymore. Like we're literally puking from it. We are, it's our comfort zone, right? Until it becomes our discomfort zone. So we're eating and eating and eating so much until we see the negative consequences of that and how eating, overeating, fast food, sugary stuff isn't actually leading us to where we actually want to go. So it has been invaluable to a certain degree for us, right? Because it did give us some stimulation and pleasure and feel good and stuff. But then at one point, now we're seeing we're fucking overweight, we're unhealthy, we're not breathing properly, we are sweating, we can't get out of bed, we don't have any friends, any social interactions, and all that stuff. So now eating isn't valuable because we now want something else. Or let's say drinking, which was something that I was doing in the past, drinking and partying and all that stuff. Gaming also, I thought that these were the things that, I mean, yes, they brought me the most joy, but then these external things, they aren't sustainable. You can't, like, it doesn't make any sense to place to place your happiness, your joy, your fulfillment on external activities, right? So at one point, if you overindulge, right, you're taking it to the extreme, whether it's partying, drinking, gaming, eating, smoking, I don't know what else. You just see the negative consequence of that. And once you've exhausted that, then you'll automatically drift into and steer into a new path, right? So for me, it was from drinking to obviously non-drinking, right? or it was from gaming to not gaming anymore, and substituting the energy I was putting in there to other things, such as clean eating, reading, meditating, journaling, whatever, walking, working out, running, you name it, right? Building my own business and stuff. Um, which is, in a sense, yeah, again, a shift in values. So what are we valuing, right? What are we striving towards? And fundamentally, let's say, even if we're following lower pursuits or higher pursuits, we're always striving for the ultimate, right? We just look in different places. Um, and then the modality, the area, the way in which we're trying to achieve the higher outcome just changes and shifts from self-indulgence to, let's say, self-realization, you could say, or self-contemplation, and all these things. Yeah, so you can almost therefore say that it's can't blame people for indulging in lower activities, right, lower pleasures, because that's just what they are seeking at the moment. This is just what they're here to explore. And I mean, I was that myself too, and I am that myself in certain ways still. Um, and yeah, that's how we learn, right? And I feel like also collectively, that's how we as society are learning that there are better ways of actually feeling happiness and joy and abundance and peace and ease and lightness and all that stuff, right? There's better ways than going out for drinks, than buying stuff, than watching Netflix and the news, or I don't know, gaming and hooking up one night stands and all that stuff. There's better ways to actually feel happier, right? And more sustainably happy and joyful. Um, but yeah, in order to actually know what sort of higher consciousness happiness is, um, we first sort of have to experience lower, right? Or not have to necessarily, but it's what the ego wants, right? The ego wants quick hits, quick fixes, quick stimulation, and therefore the easy path, right? If, let's say, food is the promising solution, then of course one just, well, yeah, of course it makes so much sense to go into food, right, and just get happy with food or with sex or video games or Netflix. But then at some point we're exhausting that, and then this allows us to shift, which is exactly also then our conscious elevating, right? Because we're now conscious and aware of the negative consequences of that, and we would now like to have the positive aspects, but not the negative consequences, right? And then we're thinking and reflecting, okay, this didn't really work. This didn't really work so much. What is something more sustainable that we can do? And maybe it's not seeking something from the outside, but maybe it's actually seeking something from the inside. How can I create fulfillment and joy within myself instead of needing to take it, needing to get it from the outside? So it's all just the natural evolution of consciousness, which is fine, right? And we're all on our unique paths, which is fine anyway. Sure, we're doing the best we can with what we have and what we believe to be true and the level of consciousness we're currently at. Um, yeah, so I guess take time for yourself on where you currently are. Don't rush ahead also. Like, it's fine to fully explore this level that you're currently at, right? I mean, that's the reason you're here to fully be in this stage you're at. And then you'll automatically progress because you'll make your learnings and you'll see your shifts and you're like, oh, okay, this was nice. I like this about that, but I didn't like that. So maybe let me see and find something new here. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. That was helpful to you and valuable to your higher self. Um, yeah, I'm planning on doing this more often. And I'm speaking like that. I also do just like raw voice transmissions, voice note types, which I actually like a lot. Yeah, I'm just overall curious also for myself, how I can show myself and express myself in a way that actually makes a click between you and me, right? Which is important. I tried Instagram for a while, but I feel like it's very limiting and contracting, and not really a good channel to fully express myself. I feel like it's a very, very narrow channel that's super tight. I have to squeeze myself through, and it's quite difficult. I feel like to put my vastness sort of or convey and transmit my vastness onto you, which I feel like long form content and YouTube video and speaking like I'm doing right now is actually way more helpful and conducive to that. So it's more valuable to me than Instagram, right? And the lower self instant dopamine hit type Leonard of me also wanted to do Instagram because then I could have instant virality and all these followers and fame and stuff. But it was sort of suffocating my soul. So I'm shifting to long from here. I also offer one-on-one guidance for conscious entrepreneurs, conscious visionaries who want to gain clarity on their path, on their vision, and also the confidence to then create that externally. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can just click the link in the bio. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. Sending you much love. You can still follow me on Instagram though. Reach out, love to connect with you. Drop me a comment. Yeah, tell me how you like this. There's something that you gain from that. Yeah, we do want to make this a valuable exchange relationship for you. So yeah, from my heart to yours, all the best to you. Keep following your highest values and your highest visions and get there eventually. Much love. See you soon.